Discover 20 cars you never knew were worthless in 2025 Unexpected Truths Revealed. The headline screamed at Tom Dwyer from the old magazine as he flipped through the dusty pages in the garage. A chill crept down his spine. Worthless? The word felt like a knife slicing through the cherished memories held within each classic car, parked up behind the frame shop. Those pretty machines were more than metal and wheels. They were vessels of laughter, adventures, and fleeting seconds that turned into hours spent under big skies. Tom, a 42-year-old single father, had weathered the storms of life alone since his wife had left 2 years ago. In that cozy sediment of a small Midwestern town, where time felt slow and sweet like honey on a warm biscuit, he worked long hours in his garage, fixing cars, while two bright eyes watched him from the side. His kids, Lucy and Jake, were his world. They adored him, their hero on a heroic steed of grease and oil. "Dad, can we go for ice cream?" Jake called from the door, his voice sweet as summer rain. Tom looked away from the magazine, his heart fluttering deep inside. Moments like these mattered. He thought of the dreams he held, of a future where his kids wouldn't struggle like he did. But that article was a slap in the face. Worthless? He thought of the family road trips, Lucy's first date in the old Chevy, and the laughter that came echoing back with every subtle hum of a purring engine. Determined to breathe life into the memories that could easily fade, Tom hatched an idea one hot evening, when fireflies danced under the stars. A car show. Imagine families gathered under string lights, sharing tales of the roads they traveled. It could bring everyone together for a night of nostalgia. With every ounce of excitement he had, he grabbed some paper and began jotting down plans, visions shaping in his mind. As the days passed, enthusiasm spread like wildfire through the town. Folks began reminiscing, excited about sharing the past, the good old days when cars meant freedom and family. Tom's heart surged with hope. But just as quickly, shadows crept in. Sam, his former boss, who was all in on electric and self-driving cars, scoffed at Tom's idea. "It's a waste of time, Dwyer. Progress can't be ignored," he muttered one afternoon. Panic mixed with determination bubbled up inside Tom's chest. Did he really have to fight for what he believed in? The rift in the community grew, with Sam stirring whispers of doubt. Secret conversations filled the local diner, murmurs that washed over Tom like cold rain. But Lucy and Jake wouldn't back down. Their faces lit with fiery passion, they printed posters and gathered support, tapping into nostalgia just like Dad had taught them. Seeing their commitment stoked the fire in Tom's heart, fueling a flame of resilience. Finally, the day of the car show approached, and as Tom looked out towards the parking lot filling with familiar vehicles, an old Mustang, a faded Volkswagen bus, and a couple of rusted Chevy trucks, his heart raced. Giddy hope tinged with fear bound him in place. Would the townsfolk see the real value before them? Would they stand together to remember what it felt like to belong? As the sun began to set, covering everything in a golden hue, Tom inhaled the warm air, his chest tight with emotion. In that moment of vulnerability, he recognized that this gathering wasn't just about cars. It was about memories, love, and community. But above all, it was about proving that together, they could reclaim their worth in a changing world. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The headlights flickered to life, illuminating their artful history and the faces of those who cherished them. Would they step forward to remind him that these machinery-shaped vessels of smiles and memories were still worthy? Would the echoes of their collective past drown out the noise of an uncertain future? With a quivering heart filled with both fear and hope, Tom resolved to find out. As the first few families arrived, Tom's heart pounded like a revving engine. He stepped out from behind the row of cars, his face breaking into a wide grin as kids darted to the classic vehicles, their faces lighting up like Christmas lights. The laughter and chatter filled the air, mingling with the warmth of the setting sun. He felt like a conductor of this symphony of memories. "Look, Dad, can we sit in that one?" Lucy's voice startled him from his thoughts. She pointed excitedly at the bright red Mustang, its chrome gleaming like treasure in the golden light. "Sure, honey," Tom replied, his voice hoarse with emotion. As they moved toward the car, he noticed a group of older folks standing nearby, reminiscing. One man, his silver hair catching the sunlight, chuckled as he recalled his first drive in a similar Mustang. The storytelling snowballed, and soon more joined in, some sharing stories of love, losses, and triumphs tied to the cars parked like old friends around them. "Tom, you've done it," Lucy shouted, her voice ringing with a mixture of pride and excitement. "They love it." But just then, Tom spotted Sam across the lot, arms crossed and eyes narrowed, standing like a storm cloud ready to unleash rain on this sunlit gathering. Tom's happiness faltered. Wouldn't Sam find a way to belittle this moment, to transform it into a talking point of how the past was dead? "Dad, don't let him ruin it," Jake whispered fiercely, as if sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Tom knelt down, pulling his son close. "No one can ruin this but us, buddy," he replied, trying to mask his own trepidation. "This is our moment, remember that." In that instant, the first flickering of doubt began to dissipate as the hearts surrounding him celebrated the familiarity of nostalgia. Cars might be deemed worthless according to a magazine, but here, they were priceless, the stories they carried woven into the fabric of family and friendship, binding them all together. A flash of laughter pierced the oncoming darkness, drawing Tom's attention back to the crowd. One woman had climbed inside the old Chevy and pretended to drive, mimicking the motions. Children erupted in giggles, and that sound was infectious. Tom found himself smiling despite himself. Moments turned into an hour, and families mingled beneath string lights that sparkled like stars. But still, Sam's presence loomed, a reminder of the naysayers and the pressure of the world outside their little sanctuary. "It's amazing, you know," Lucy said, breaking his spiral of thoughts. "Everyone's here because you brought them together, Dad." Her eyes shone with admiration, and for a moment, he saw the bright future he longed for in their shared joy. But just then, as if the universe had chosen that very moment to test him, a harsh voice cut through the laughter. "What are you all celebrating? The end of real progress?" Sam's words dripped like venom, slicing through the sweet air. Tom felt a shiver run down his spine. This was the moment he dreaded, the potential collapse of belief. But in the pit of his stomach, he sensed a tide shifting. His kids turned towards Sam, unwavering like steadfast shadows beside their father. "I'm celebrating the memories in these cars," Tom called back, surprising even himself with the strength in his voice. "I'm celebrating community, family, and what it means to be together. And that is worth more than any electric invention." A ripple of murmurs followed, eyes darting between Tom and Sam. Tom's heart raced, and he breathed deeply. It was true, the worthiness of these moments, of this community, hung in the balance. Could he hold on to this fragile spirit glowing brighter than any engine? As everyone's gazes intensified, Sam's expression shifted from skepticism to confusion. The air thickened with tension. Would they unite against the storm or against each other? And what was at stake if they did? Tom held his breath, waiting. In the silence that followed, the weight of unspoken words pressed down heavily on his chest. Would this night end in unity or division? As he awaited, the reaction from the crowd, a pulse of fear intertwined with hope, surged through him. The tension hung thick in the air as whispers swirled around Tom, a soft, almost hesitant hum of agreement threading through the crowd. It was like a concoction of disbelief and curiosity, mixed with the warmth of the community. But Sam's scowl deepened, his posture still rigid, as if he were a wall separating Tom from the joy bubbling around them. "Everything's changing, Tom," Sam shot back sharply, his voice piercing through the tentative hope. "You can't just cling to nostalgia like it'll save you. These cars are rusting relics of a bygone era." The words felt heavy, a tangible weight that threatened to crush the fleeting magic of the evening. Tom's mind raced, searching for a response, something that would bridge the gap between what Sam believed and what he felt in his gut. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. This was more than just about cars. It was about heart and community. "But they're not just cars," Tom said, the words bubbling over with passion. "They're memories carved in metal. Each scratch tells a story: the first drive, The family road trip, the heartbreaks and celebrations. Those stories matter. They're a part of who we are. Sam's jaw tightened. The crowd shifted, uncertainty now mingling with Tom's resolve. The other voices grew louder, and Tom could see glimmers of understanding in their eyes. Was it possible that they might all rise together against the storm that Sam represented? Don't you see? Tom continued, his voice rising but not angry, fired up, fierce. This gathering, this spirit, it's a testament to life. Not everything is about moving forward blindly. Sometimes it's about remembering where you came from and holding on to that. It keeps us grounded. Lucy squeezed his hand, and Jake stood tall at his side. They were his anchors, reminding him why this mattered. The murmurs turned into nods, subtle but powerful. People began to remember their own stories: an aunt who drove her first car to college, a grandfather who restored a beaten-down pickup in his backyard, turning it into a family treasure. The energy shifted, igniting the essence of unity. Celebrating the past didn't mean rejecting the future. It was embracing both. Sam shifted uncomfortably but remained silent, his eyes darting away from the gathering warmth of shared stories. Another voice piped up from the crowd. Tom's right. My dad taught me everything about cars under that old sedan, a woman called out. It's like threading the needle between past and present. These moments are worth celebrating. Encouragement rippled through the crowd, enthusiasm shining bright once again. Tom felt the heat of belief rekindling the air. What was once a flicker of hope threatened to explode into a bonfire of determination. He looked directly at Sam. What do you want for us? Do you really think we can find progress without knowing who we are? Without understanding the roots that have brought us here? Sam faltered, the passion in Tom's voice visibly unsettling him. The crowd began to gather closer, pulling away from the fear Sam radiated. It was no longer just about nostalgia. It was about community, family, and respect. Tom could see the tide turning. He focused on the connection blooming in front of him, a vibrant pulse of shared emotions and stories. Something inside him swelled at the thought of these connections blossoming, something stronger than even the most powerful engine. But just as excitement reached a fever pitch, the unpredictable nature of the evening played its hand. A loud thud echoed from the distance, drawing everyone's attention. A figure had stumbled, and gasps filled the air. Turns out, a classic car had rolled down an incline, teetering dangerously close to the crowd. Tom's heart raced, suddenly shifted from the battle of words to an unexpected crisis. What would happen next? Could this night still hold the beauty they had built, or would it shatter in an instant? As every gaze turned toward the danger, he felt the familiar fire in his belly flare with urgency. Would they come together as they had moments ago, or would chaos reign? Look out, he shouted, instincts kicking in as he rushed forward, ready to protect what mattered most. Tom sprinted toward the chaos, adrenaline surging through his veins. The roaring engine of the wayward classic sounded almost alive, echoing off the buildings like a wild animal on the loose. Each heartbeat pounded in his ears louder than the cheers or music that once filled the air. People stumbled back, their faces registers of panic, eyes wide with fear. Get out of the way, Tom called, his voice finding strength amid the tumult. A few individuals snapped back to reality and scrambled to move, but others stood frozen, uncertain and afraid. Sam watched from afar, still scowling, but now knuckles white as he gripped the edge of a nearby hood. Everyone, keep moving, Tom urged again. He felt the weight of the crowd behind him, their hesitation like a heavy blanket, but he pressed on. He couldn't let fear rule the day. They had come together so beautifully only moments ago. This was a test of their resilience, and he would be damned if they fell apart now. With every stride, he felt the heat of the moment, the pulse of life racing against him. Was he sprinting toward disaster, or was he the bridge that would lead them back to safety? The car was a few dozen feet away, teetering on a slope, its rusty frame glinting ominously in the fading sunlight. Tom reached the car just as it started to roll, the screech of tires on pavement sending shivers down his spine. He dropped to his knees and braced himself against the front bumper, palms pressed firmly to the hot metal. It was heavier than he imagined, but the resolve in his heart pushed him forward. He glanced back, catching a glimpse of Lucy and Jake, fear etched on their faces but also a flicker of hope. Their eyes locked for just a moment, a reminder of why this mattered. "I need help. Anyone," he shouted, desperation tinging his voice. The crowd stirred, and one brave soul jumped into action. It was the woman who had called out for him earlier, her voice imbued with determination. "I'll help," she yelled, rushing forward. Others followed as more joined the effort. A small army emerged from the gathering, breaking free of their trance. With the force of their collective will, they pushed against the car's back, muscles straining and feet digging into the gravel. Every effort could turn the tide from chaos to unity. Tom felt himself being lifted not just by the physical strength of those around him, but by the shared belief that they could protect what mattered. Heart pounding, he yelled, "On three. 1, 2, 3. They heaved, the car shifting slightly, inching back toward stability. Relief washed over him, almost swamping him like a wave. They were doing it. They were coming together for something greater than all of them. But just as the threat seemed to subside, a sharp crack echoed from the trunk of the rolling car. Panic reignited as it swung dangerously towards the crowd, and in that split second, Tom's instincts roared louder than logic. He threw himself to the side, creating a protective barrier between the car and those behind him. The world narrowed into one singular focus: survival. Voices pitched in and out, faces contorted with fear and determination. Would they prevail together, or would this moment be remembered as a shattering disaster? The unexpected calm that followed was fraying at the edges as the group held on, their resolve like a fragile thread. Tom's heart raced not just with fear, but with anticipation. They were fighting not just against the threat of a car, but for their stories and bonds, for a legacy worth preserving. As the tension peaked and pulses raced, a heavy silence fell, broken only by the rumble of the vehicle. What would it take to unite them completely? What would this night become? The crowd held its breath, waiting for whatever came next. Tom braced himself as the car teetered with a menacing creak. The panic in the air was almost tangible, but he could feel the electricity of determination coursing through the group around him. It was a moment they would either step up or be swallowed by chaos. In those frantic seconds, he glanced around. Faces that he recognized from fleeting interactions now seemed irreplaceable. Lucy, with her freckled cheeks and determined glare, clutched Jake's hand tightly, their bond tighter than any rope. The woman who had rushed forward a stranger moments ago was now a lifeline, her hair whipping in the wind as she pushed with all her might. "Push!" Tom shouted, as if fueling a fire that was quickly catching. "We can't stop now." The car wobbled again, and Tom felt suspended. His breath came in rapid bursts, the adrenaline painting the world in sharp, vivid colors behind his eyelids. He could hear Sam's voice raised above the crowd, rallying a few more people to their side. "More. We need more weight." Tom's heart surged with hope. He was not alone. They were not just spectators to the stampede of events, they were the warriors of the evening, each person fighting for one another. A surge of energy came as more people arrived, their muscles straining and voices mingling with determination. As the car tilted dangerously, he saw a child near the edge of the crowd, eyes wide, body trembling. "Get back!" Tom yelled, concern washing over him. "Move." He didn't want to see fear in those innocent eyes any longer. They needed safety. In a flash, a couple of young adults near the front had realized the threat. They surged toward the child, ushering him away with gentle urgency. "Safe here," one of them said, crouching down to ensure the boy felt secure, taking on the role of protector. That act spread like a warm glow among the crowd. Tom drew strength from it, from the kindness blooming in the midst of chaos. With another shout of 1, 2, 3, they heaved again. The car shifted audibly, pulling back on its precarious path, still swaying but gaining stability. Tom felt the ground below them quake with shared determination, the energy of a community pulling together. But just then, a louder crack filled the air. Tom's heart sank. The framework of the ancient vehicle gave way, a piece snapping and sending the rear end down with alarming speed. The cry of despair echoed from the crowd, and Tom's instincts kicked in again. He dove low, raising his arms in a desperate bid to shield Lucy and Jake, who had been drawn into his immediate orbit. Seconds felt like a lifetime as Tom's world blacked out for a fragile heartbeat. When the dust settled and a symphony of gasps filled the air, Tom opened his eyes slowly. Surrounded by fallen debris, his heart raced. Had they succeeded? Was the car still a threat? He caught the sound of a whimper and turned just in time to see the little boy, now shielded under the arms of a stranger. Relief washed over him like a cold drink on a hot day. The crowd began to stir, checking on one another, sharing quiet words of concern, hands clasped, some hugging tight. In that moment of stillness, as bodies slowly rose and tremors of fear gave way to cautious laughter, Tom recognized something deeper than mere survival. They had formed a fleeting family, bound together by that thread, and now they were ready to stand. But what unity came next? What would this act of courage morph into? Tom's gaze drifted to the horizon where dusk had begun to paint the sky, a gentle reminder of hope. Was this the beginning of something more? Would they galvanize their connection into an enduring community, or would the night fade, leaving only whispers of bravery behind? He could feel a revolution brewing, shaped by shared experiences, and he was right at the center. It was time to discover just how far their unity could take them. What awaited them next as they emerged from the wreckage? Tom took a deep breath and pushed himself to his feet. The dust settled around him like a shroud, the air heavy with adrenaline and uncertainty. He scanned the crowd, absorbing the sight of anything resembling unity, hope flickering like candlelight in the faces around him. "Is everyone okay?" he called out, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside. A chorus of voices broke the uneasy silence, affirming they were all more or less fine, but a feeling of vulnerability remained. Lucy stepped forward, brushing a few stray strands of hair from her face. Her freckled cheeks glowed with a hint of relief, but there was something deeper in her gaze. "What just happened? Did we really?" Tom nodded, his words spilling forth with a mix of conviction and awe. "We faced it together. That's what matters. We stood as one when it counted." Jake, still gripping Lucy's hand, glanced around. "So what now? Are we just going to leave?" Tom hesitated, looking at the crumpled wreckage of the car they had tried to save. It was a symbol of their abrupt brush with chaos, but also of something far more meaningful. It meant they had the power to intervene, to uplift, and to connect. "No," he replied, his tone taking on a weight of determination. "We don't need to go back to our separate lives. Not after this." A murmur spread through the crowd. Eyes brightened, minds eager, hands fidgeted. "We've already overcome so much," Tom continued, his heart racing with fervor. "Let us harness that strength together. We could start a community, help one another through whatever comes next. We can do more than just survive. We can thrive." The crowd looked around at one another, seeing the familiar faces in a new light. People nodded in agreement, a wave of enthusiasm beginning to swell. The earlier moments of despair had transformed into a collective dream, a vision that coursed through them like a lifeline. Suddenly, an older gentleman stepped forward, leaning heavily on a crutch. His voice cracked, but there was fire behind it. "You're right, son. I've lived alone in this neighborhood for too long. If we're going to change things, we need to know each other, to build something real." A ripple of agreement spread through the ensemble. One by one, more voices joined in, some offering ideas, others sharing resources. Tom listened, excitement bubbling within him as he witnessed the birth of something bigger than himself. The community began to form, sketching plans to hold a gathering, to share food, stories, dreams. As discussions picked up, Tom felt a smile creep across his face. The sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow against the horizon, igniting a spark within their budding family. Hope intertwined with responsibility, each person charged with the duty of nurturing their new connection. But amid the gathering enthusiasm, doubt nestled into the corner of Tom's mind. What if they couldn't sustain it? What if life pulled them apart again? Just then, a young woman spoke up, her voice piercing through his thoughts. "What do we want our community to stand for? What values will we carry? Because those will guide us going forward." That question hung in the air, heavy with potential. Tom could feel the weight of it, a challenge to give purpose to their unity beyond this moment. The world felt charged with possibility, as if the universe itself was holding its breath in anticipation. All eyes fell on Tom, waiting for him to take the next step to define their path. He could feel his heart pound against his chest, the pressure mounting. He realized this wasn't just a moment anymore. It was the beginning of everything. What values would they choose? What dreams would they chase together? And could they really stand strong against whatever storms might threaten to pull them apart? Tom opened his mouth, ready to voice the foundation of their future, knowing the answer would change everything. Tom took a moment, the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. He felt the eyes of his neighbors, eyes that now reflected trust and hope, and it both exhilarated and terrified him. "Let us start simple," he finally said, finding words in the swirl of emotion. "Connection. We want to know each other. We want to be there for one another." Nods and murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Lucy stepped closer to him, a soft smile on her face, and he felt a spark of encouragement bolster his resolve. "That's right," she added. "We're all experiencing similar struggles. If we make a point to share our stories, we can find solutions together. No more hiding." Her words fueled the fire in Tom's heart. They had spent so long feeling isolated, trapped in their individual lives, but this was different. Now, they were being pulled out of their shells, called to join hands and help one another. "Okay, we can do that," a young father chimed in, his restless baby bouncing on his hip. "We start meeting regularly. Maybe every Friday evening at the park could be our time to come together. We can bring food and just talk." "Great idea," someone shouted from the back, and soon others echoed the sentiment, their spirits soaring. Tom felt a rush of joy at each voice rising in unison, eager to pave a new path together. He imagined Friday nights filled with laughter, games, and shared meals under the stars. A community not just surviving, but celebrating each other. "Let us also focus on helping each other out," Jake suggested, squeezing Lucy's hand tighter. "We can start a tool-sharing system. If someone needs to borrow a lawnmower or fix a pipe, we all chip and no one should have to tackle these things alone." Cheers erupted, and Tom knew they were building something meaningful. It felt good to call out ideas and see everyone light up with hope. But shadows slipped through the cracks of his excitement. He thought about the challenges ahead. "What about conflicts?" he asked, breaking the jubilant rhythm. "We're bound to have disagreements. How do we handle those when they come?" A silence fell over the crowd, their enthusiasm dimming as they faced the truth. Lucy shifted, thinking it through. "We just talk it out, right? We can set up guidelines for how to change things if needed. Maybe even a community mediator, someone we trust?" "Exactly," Tom agreed. "Conflict doesn't have to break us. It can strengthen us if we let it. We commit to finding solutions over fighting." As they crafted their vision together, Tom felt clarity forming in place of doubt. They were embarking on this journey as a team, ready to tackle whatever challenges life threw at them. Then the older gentleman with the crutch raised his hand again. "And what about those who can't speak up? We need to make sure everyone's voice is heard, even if some are shy or afraid." "That's important," Tom said, his heart warming. "We want everyone to feel safe and valued." The conversation took on a new rhythm as they came together to draft their guiding principles. Respect, trust, inclusion. The more they spoke, the more a powerful force ignited in their hearts. They were building not just a community, but a family. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that gave way to star-flecked sky, it became clear that a crucial part of their journey was just beginning. Unity, perseverance, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow filled the air, weaving through their words like a melody. But as Tom looked into the faces of his neighbors, a sudden thought nagged at him. Where would the seeds of conflict sprout from next? Would they be strong enough to face the unexpected trials ahead as unity thrived beyond this moment? Determined, yet anxious, he stood at the threshold of both hope and uncertainty. What would be the first real challenge they would face as a new family? And would they find the strength to hold on when the winds of change began to howl? Tom felt a shiver run down his spine as the last of the sunlight slipped away, leaving behind a blanket of twilight. The laughter and chatter around him slowly settled into a comfortable hum, but the weight of impending challenges weighed heavily on his mind. He could sense the excitement, yet a thread of worry wove through his thoughts. They had built something beautiful together, but how long would that beauty last? "All right, everyone," Tom called out, trying to shake off his anxiety. "Let us wrap this up for the night. We'll meet again next Friday, just as we talked about. Bring your ideas about our tool-sharing project and anything else you think would help our community." Cheers erupted again, but he noticed Lucy's brow furrowed slightly. She stepped beside him, breaking the crowd's exit with a gentle touch on his arm. "You're still worried, aren't you?" Tom met her gaze, his heart a mix of gratitude and apprehension. "Just thinking about what could go wrong. I mean, we're all on board now, but will it hold?" She nodded, her expression softening. "It's okay to feel that way. You've ignited something here. Just remember, it's more than words. It's about action and commitment." "Right," he replied, searching her eyes for reassurance. "But what if we fail? What if that commitment fades? Then we start over," she said firmly. "Together." Tom appreciated her optimism. Her words wrapped around his fears like a warm blanket, soothing the doubts that churned inside him. As he looked around, he caught sight of the older gentleman with the crutch. Even he remained among the last few lingerers, watching. "Hey," Tom called out, motioning him over. The man approached, using his crutch as support, but moving with determination. "What's on your mind?" The gentleman smiled knowingly. "You know, Tom, you're not just forming a community. You're building trust. Trust takes time, and it needs nurturing. People will need to see that you're consistent." "Consistency," Tom repeated, letting it sink in. "You're right. We need to show that we mean what we say." The man nodded, his lined face speaking of experiences that had come before. "And we must remember that includes accepting our imperfections. You'll stumble. You'll argue. But that is okay." Tom took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the man's wisdom settle within him. "Thank you for that. It's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture when you're in the thick of it." As the last bits of daylight faded, the stars began to twinkle overhead. It felt almost like a promise of hope, of connection, and of potential. They were all together in this. Over the coming weeks, he mulled over what the gentleman had said. Every conversation they had was a stepping stone toward building not only trust but resilience. And yet, with each step they took, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that something unexpected was coming. Could they sustain this newfound unity when faced with reality? The week passed quickly, filled with preparations for their next gathering. Tom helped organize a potluck, and the excitement bubbled as people signed up to bring dishes. But as Friday approached, an ominous feeling crept in. He couldn't ignore it. It was as if the winds of change whispered warnings about something lurking just beyond the horizon, something that could threaten the very foundation they were working to build. Finally, the day arrived. As they set up at the park, laughter filled the air. The smell of homemade food wafted through as families laid out picnic blankets and set down dishes. Tom felt a flicker of hope, even as that lingering dread weaved its way through his heart. Just as they gathered to begin sharing stories, a loud commotion erupted from the edge of the park. Tom's heart raced as heads turned to see a group of newcomers approaching, their faces uncertain and alarmed. What were they bringing to this fragile moment? As Tom stepped forward to meet them, a tight knot formed in his stomach. What were the challenges today going to reveal? And were they truly ready to face them together? Tom approached the newcomers cautiously, his heart pounding as uncertainty loomed in the air. The group seemed uneasy, casting quick glances around them, as if searching for a safe anchor amid the cheerful chaos. They wore mismatched clothes, the kind that told stories of recent struggles, a hint of tough times fresh on their faces. "Hi there," he called out, trying to keep his voice light. "I'm Tom. Are you here for the potluck?" One of the newcomers, a young woman with tired eyes, nodded. "Yeah, we heard about it and thought we'd come join, but we didn't think it would be this busy." Tom noticed how she shied away slightly, the weight of her hesitation hanging between them. He crafted a smile, one that he hoped would ease her apprehension. "No need to be nervous. Everyone's welcome here. We're just a bunch of folks coming together to share food and ideas." The group gathered closer, the unity of their hesitance evident. A man in their midst, older with graying hair and a weary expression, stepped forward, taking a deep breath. "We've been looking for a place to connect, but we've had a rough time finding our footing lately." Tom's heart sank a little at hearing the raw truth in the man's voice. Life had a way of testing connections, and here they were, a reminder of that struggle. "Well, you're in the right place. We're trying to build a community, people helping each other, you know?" Lucy stepped up beside him, her presence grounding. "You're welcome to join us for the meal. We'd love to share what we've got." The man's brow softened at her kindness. "Thanks. It's just that we've been through a lot. We weren't sure if we belonged here." Tom stepped closer, sensing the distance that formed not only in physical space, but in their expressions. This space is for everyone. No one is perfect, and that is what makes us real. You belong here. We all do. Silence hung hesitantly for a moment, then broke with a bubbling laughter from the crowd. The warmth of connection began to weave through the air again, each chuckle breaking down the barriers that had just sprung up. As the newcomers hesitated, the sagging tension lifted slightly as others invited them over to share some of the dishes they'd prepared. As they settled in, Tom observed the two worlds merging, the regulars laughing and swapping stories, the newcomers still feeling the sting of unease but beginning to smile. He felt a surge of hope, mixed with that familiar dread deep within. Could this unshakable moment of unity withstand the challenges ahead? Suddenly, from behind him, he heard a commotion. A young boy darted past, giggling, with an older man chasing him in mock terror. The spontaneous energy rippled across the park as those still on the sidelines began to clap and cheer. Life pulsed through the gathering as a reminder of what they were trying to build, a tapestry woven from every thread of their unique experiences. But then, just as laughter echoed brightly, Tom caught sight of a shadow looming near the edge of the park. A figure stood watching them intently, arms crossed, a frown carved into their face. Tom's stomach twisted again. Who was that person, and what were they here for? With the mingled joy of community still fragrant in the air, he felt an unsettling shift. As laughter erupted around him, exhaustion mingled with uncertainty. Would their fragile sense of togetherness hold against whatever was about to unfold? The moment of truth was just moments away. Tom's heart raced as the figure drew closer, tension dancing on the edge of his nerves. The jovial atmosphere of the potluck clashed harshly against the looming presence of dread. Who was this newcomer? Why did they seem so intent on interrupting the magic of the night? "Hey there," he called out, forcing a cheerful tone despite the anxiety bubbling inside. The figure stopped in their tracks. It was Sam, the familiar storm cloud over his community's gathering. "What is going on here?" Sam's voice was sharp, cutting through the laughter like a knife. "This isn't what we need right now." Tom felt the energy shift immediately. The cheerful chatter dulled into uncertain murmurs. The newcomers, once so hopeful and eager to connect, glanced at him, concern painted on their faces. "Sam, this is our potluck. A chance for everyone to come together and share some food, ideas, and laughter," Tom explained, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's about building a community. A community built on what? Old cars. Those things should be scrapped. You're living in the past thinking this is what we need." Sam shot back, arms folded and voice drenched in contempt. Tom's throat tightened. Every degrading word was a thorn in the heart of their gathering. Would this be the moment that the fragile bonds he had worked so hard to weave began to unravel? "Tom is right," Lucy piped up, her voice strong and unwavering. "People are here to connect. Maybe you should give it a chance instead of tearing it down." Sam turned to Lucy, a glimmer of surprise crossing his features. "I thought you were going to be different. You shouldn't hold on to the past just because it feels comfortable." With a surge of emotion, Tom stepped forward, fueled by determination. "No one is seeking comfort, Sam. We're seeking connection, hope, and a way to support one another. Cars are just a piece of that, a symbol of family and shared memories." "I don't think you get it," Sam declared, frustration spilling over. "This is all misguided nostalgia. It won't help you in the real world." Tom shook his head, refusing to back down. "It's not just about the cars. It's about community. We're working together to support each other. People have lost faith in figuring things out alone. We can't keep running from our past." The air crackled with intensity as Tom's words resonated. The crowd began to murmur, voices rising in support of him. "He is right," someone shouted. "This matters." Tom could feel the shift, the warmth of solidarity igniting the tension around them, sparking a new sense of belonging. Sam's eyes darted around, but as he met the gaze of the newcomers, a flicker of realization passed over his face. "But what about progress?" Sam shot back, though his voice lacked the certainty it once had. Tom took a deep breath, deep enough to pull his convictions into focus. "Progress isn't just about moving ahead blindly. It's about building on what we know, forming roots that can withstand the storms. There's value in our histories, and there's value in each other, and that is worth fighting for." A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd, igniting their spirits. Old friends exchanged knowing smiles, families nodded, and the newcomers felt the defiance grow within them. "Come join us instead of fighting us," Tom extended, opening his arms to Sam, inviting him into their circle rather than pushing him away. "Be part of this, whether you like old cars or not." At that moment, the weight of uncertainty clung to the air, but through the tension, something shifted within Sam. His posture softened just a fraction, as if he were considering the possibility of connection instead of conflict. I believe in moving forward," Sam admitted, his voice steadier now. "But I don't want to alienate anyone." "Then be a part of this," Tom encouraged, emboldened by the support surrounding him. "Help shape what our community can become. Together, anyone can find their way." Sam stood silently, his expression wavering between skepticism and the dim glow of potential acceptance. Tom's heart pounded as he awaited the next moment, praying for a twist that could lead to unity instead of division. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder, rippling with anticipation. Sam's expression began to thaw. The tension transformed into cautious hope, and he looked back at the circle of support that had formed. A member from Sam's past stepped up, an old acquaintance who had shared many journeys with him. "You can still push for change and help them grow. Not everything you seek has to conflict with what they value. Find a middle ground." The atmosphere shifted again, like a breath of fresh air cutting through a heavy fog. Sam's eyes softened, and Tom's chest warmed with the possibility of transformation. "Okay," Sam finally replied, his voice quiet but steady. "I'll give it a shot. Let us see how we can blend the future with what we've built here." Cheers erupted from the crowd, a wave of joy washing over them, an unmistakable sign that they had all crossed a threshold together. It was in that moment the bond of a new community solidified, standing resilient against the winds of change. As laughter began to fill the spaces again, Tom felt the shadows recede. The challenges they faced loomed large in his mind, but he knew together they could weather any storm. This night was the dawn of something beautiful, a community that not only cherished its past but embraced its future while weaving the colors of trust and resilience into a shared tapestry. As families mingled and plates filled with delight, Tom looked out and saw smiles blooming like flowers, each one a testament to the magic they had forged. This was only the beginning, and he couldn't wait to see how far their unity could take them. Before we wrap up, let me remind you that the journey doesn't stop here. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now, because it helps feed the algorithm and ensures more people enjoy these narratives. And don't forget to comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. It truly matters to us. Finally, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the joy of our story. True fans know how important it is to support the channel, and your involvement makes all the difference.